Hi, my name is Guy Barrington, and I would like to share some words on peace and to really explore what peace means for us in ourselves and in the world and in our relationships and in life. And in some ways, to explore this question fully, we have to understand the nature of war. We have to understand the nature of non-peace to get to deeper peace. It appears in the world that we live in a world at war. But it also appears when the dark clouds are over the sun that we live in a cloudy world. But the sun remains. And the sun in this symbology is peace. The sun is always there. The sun is always present. And some days we have clear blue sky, and other days we have cloud cover. Why is it that we keep getting presented imagery of a world at war? When we turn on the news, look at the newspapers, this is what people report. People keep focusing on the clouds. How often do we hear the sun stories, the peaceful stories? There was a day of tranquility that happened in London today. It was all peaceful in the countryside. People were celebrating life. Is that news? And if it's not news, why is it not news? Why do we not have good news channels? Channels that are focused on human potential, human greatness, the celebration of life. How amazing it was that these countries came together in communication, that this relationship healed a wound and got back together, that this community restored itself through this challenge or trauma and was brought back to health and healing and togetherness and communication and celebration. We live in a world of contrast, and this world of contrast can be a very useful teacher. Sometimes by having a lot of what we don't want, it brings us to a realization of what we really do want. So sometimes we've been in that place of struggle and pain and upset to the point where we've just had enough, and it flips us into a life of peace, contentment, connection. Sometimes we have to go through the dark times in order to really appreciate the light times. Sometimes we have to get lost in shadow in order to find our way to the light. There's a place for everything in this world, but something that's very clear to me is what we focus on is what we become. Our placement of focus determines our experience. If we're always dwelling upon the war, we're always inviting in the war. If we start to dwell on the sunlight, on the peace, on truth, on connection, then that starts to radiate. Those become the rays of our expression. And we literally start to light up the world, inside of us and outside of us. So what is peace? Is peace a thing? Is it something we acquire? Is it even a state of consciousness that's waiting for us to tune into? Oh, now I've arrived in that place, like it's a land or a destination. Or is peace something much, much closer to us? Closer than breathing? Something to do with our actual essence. This has been my experience. As I come closer and closer and closer and closer to who I really am, naturally, I get more and more and more peaceful, more and more relaxed, more and more content. Just to think about this. If your internal reality is a source fountain of life force, if this is what gives birth to your exterior form, if your foundation is this primal life essence, and as you come closer and closer and closer to this beautiful fountain of love, wisdom, peace, joy, harmony, celebration, everything starts to fall into that vibration. Even your skin feels softer. Your mind feels more gentle and spacious. Your emotional body feels more calm and agile. Your vision is more clear. This is not because I've done anything on the outside. I've just traveled back in to the place where the outside comes from. A lot of the time we're trying to fix the problems of the world over there. We're putting a plaster on a great big gash instead of traveling in to do the deep, deep, deep inner healing, inner connection work inside of us. Something which is obviously true is the more peaceful I become, the more of an influence I have on the world around me on being more peaceful. If I stay in resistance, judgment, reaction, opinion, and keep pushing this out into the world, then I'm going to meet that in the mirror, in the reflection. So as I start to take ownership for my own power and my own flow and my own internal realization of peace, this becomes a natural ripple effect out into the world. Something like meditation is a very useful training ground to wind this spiral right back in, so we kind of wind our thoughts back in, our emotions, our sensations, back into the more subtle vibrations, back into silence, and rest in that place which is already here. It's like we've pulled in our focus. I'm not going to focus here or here or here. I'm going to pull this all in. I honor this and honor this and honor this. And in honoring, I bring it all the way back in home. And I rest into a pure place of being. It's like I center myself into my core. And then when I breathe out, this energy then moves out into the spiral. So I breathe back into peace. Rest in there. And I breathe out. And that energy comes out into the world. So there's this spiraling in and spiraling out. Start to take responsibility for being a peaceful being. And it's very, very possible for all of us to do this, to bring ourselves back in to that state of self-realization, self-knowing, deep heart connection. And then we can bring that out into everything that we do, into all of our relationships, into all of our communication, all of our creativity, into every moment of presence. Who we are being is a peaceful being. In this way, the revolution or the evolution begins with each one of us. We're not waiting for the politicians or the religious leaders or the teachers to tell us what to do or how to be. We're claiming it for ourselves, and we're being it right now. This is the way we transform ourselves, our homes, and it ripples out into the whole world. So my hope and desire for life is that we start to communicate more of the good news. We start to share more of our celebrations, our creations, the beautiful times, the peaceful times. And in this way engage the group focus of humanity to actively engage in the pursuit of realizing deep peace inside each one of us, which will inevitably transform our behavior and our experience in the world. So thank you very much for listening, offering you deep peace and a big hug.